They said a honeymoon night was supposed to feel sacred, like the world paused just long enough for two souls to seal there forever. I believed that. I believed every word whispered during our vows, every smile caught in photographs, every promise wrapped in white silk and roses. The suite was breathtaking. Soft golden lamps glowed against cream, colored walls, and beyond the glass balcony doors, the ocean breathed quietly under the moonlight. My wedding dress rested neatly on the sofa, still carrying the faint scent of jasmine and champagne. I touched the fabric with trembling fingers, smiling to myself. I was a wife now. I had waited for love patiently, carefully. When he came into my life, he felt like a reward for every lonely night before him. Steady, protective, reassuring. He told me I was his peace. I told him he was my home. He stood by the balcony, loosening his tie, smiling back at me. "Can you believe it?" I asked softly. "We're finally here." He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Before I could ask why, his phone rang. The sound cut through the room like a blade. He froze. For a moment, he just stared at the screen. His jaw tightened, shoulders stiffening, as if a shadow had slipped between us. I watched the change happen in real time. The man who had promised me forever suddenly looked like someone bracing for impact. "Aren't you going to answer it?" I asked gently. He cleared his throat. I need to take this. Now, I tried to laugh. "On our honeymoon night, it's work," he said quickly, already walking away. "I'll be right back." "Work?" The word echoed hollowly as the balcony door slid shut behind him. I sat back on the bed, telling myself not to overthink. Everyone had responsibilities. Everyone had a past. Love meant trust, didn't it? But seconds passed. Then minutes. Something felt wrong. The silence pressed heavily against my chest when suddenly the suite door flew open. I gasped, standing up instinctively. It was his sister. She looked nothing like the composed woman I'd known. Her face was deathly pale, lips trembling, eyes darting toward the balcony as if she feared he might hear us. She locked the door behind her with shaking hands. "What's wrong?" I asked, panic creeping into my voice. "Did something happen?" She rushed toward me and grabbed my wrists. Her hands were ice cold. "You need to listen," she whispered. "You don't have time." My heart slammed against my ribs. "Listen to what?" She shoved a bag into my hands. It was heavy, far heavier than it should have been. "There's $20,000 in there," she said breathlessly. I stared at her, confused. "Why are you giving me money?" Her eyes filled with tears she refused to let fall. "Because you need to run." The word felt unreal. "Run from what?" "From him," she said, her voice breaking. "From this marriage." My knees weakened. I shook my head in disbelief. "This isn't funny. Where is my husband?" "He's on a call he should have never taken tonight," she said. "And if he comes back before you leave, everything will be too late." Fear wrapped around my spine. "Please," I whispered, "tell me what's going on." She swallowed hard. Pain and guilt etched across her face. "He didn't marry you for love. He married you because he needed someone innocent, someone who wouldn't ask questions." A sound came from the balcony door. Her grip tightened. "Run fast," she whispered urgently, "and don't look back." And just like that, my perfect beginning cracked, splitting my world wide open. The words "run fast" echoed in my ears, crashing against my thoughts like waves against stone. I stood frozen, clutching the heavy bag, my fingers numb as if my body had already begun to shut down. "What are you saying?" I whispered. "You're not making sense." His sister shook her head, tears finally spilling over. "I don't have time to make sense. I only have time to save you." The balcony door rattled softly. A shadow moved behind the glass. My breath caught. "He's still on the call," she said urgently, "but it won't last long." I stepped back, my heart racing. "Save me from what? He loves me. He wouldn't stop," she snapped softly, her voice trembling. "I've watched him ruin lives. I couldn't stop the others, but you're different." The word others sliced through me. Others, I repeated. She looked away, guilt heavy in her eyes. Women who trusted him, women who believed him. My stomach twisted violently. "Are you saying I'm not the first?" "No," she whispered. "You're just the first he married." The room seemed to tilt. I grabbed the edge of the bed to steady myself. "This marriage," she continued, lowering her voice, "was never about love. He needed someone clean. Someone with no enemies, no secrets, no suspicious past. Someone who could take the fall if things went wrong." "Things?" My voice shook. "What things?" She hesitated, then reached into her pocket and pulled out a folded document. She didn't hand it to me, just showed me enough to see unfamiliar names, large numbers, and red markings. "He's drowning in debt," she said, "dangerous debt. People don't wait patiently for their money back." My chest tightened. "Why didn't you tell me before the wedding?" She laughed bitterly. "Because I didn't know until it was too late. I found out weeks ago. When I confronted him, he told me to stay out of it." Her gaze met mine, filled with fear. Tonight's call wasn't business, it was a warning. The balcony door handle turned. She grabbed my shoulders. "If you're still here when he comes back, you become leverage, a shield, or worse." A strange calm settled over me, the kind that comes right before a storm. I looked around the room. Our room, the flowers, the candles, the bed that now felt like a trap. "What about you?" I asked quietly. "If I leave, what happens to you?" Her lips trembled. "I'll live with the guilt either way, but I can't live knowing I let you stay." She pushed the bag into my arms again. "Take the service elevator. Don't use your phone. Don't call anyone from his side of the family." My hands shook as I unzipped the bag slightly. Bundles of cash stared back at me, real, undeniable proof that this nightmare was real. "I don't even know where to go," I whispered. "Anywhere he can't find you," she said. "Change your name if you have to. Just disappear." A voice echoed faintly from the balcony. "Who are you talking to?" My husband called. Every muscle in my body went rigid. His sister's face drained of what little color it had left. She pushed me toward the door. "Now," she mouthed. I slipped on my shoes, my movements clumsy, my heart hammering so loud I was sure he could hear it. I hesitated at the door, turning back one last time. "Why are you helping me?" I asked. She met my eyes, tears streaming freely now. "Because you still have a chance to live a life untouched by him." The balcony door slid open behind her. I didn't wait to hear what he said. I opened the door, stepped into the hallway, and walked away from my honeymoon, my marriage, and the man I thought I loved, carrying $20,000 and a shattered heart into the unknown. The night swallowed me whole. I remember the elevator doors closing, my reflection staring back at me like a stranger, wide eyes, pale face. A woman still wearing the traces of her wedding makeup while clutching a bag of cash meant for escape. With every floor we descended, the life I had planned drifted further away. Outside, the ocean air felt cold and unforgiving. I didn't look back at the glowing hotel, afraid that if I did, I'd lose the courage to keep moving. I flagged down the first taxi I saw and gave the driver a random address across the city. My phone stayed buried deep in my purse, powered off like a silent promise to vanish. By sunrise, I was gone. The first weeks were the hardest. I moved between cheap motels, slept in my clothes, and jumped at every unfamiliar sound. I avoided mirrors because I didn't recognize the woman staring back. The cash felt heavy, not like freedom, but like evidence of a life stolen from me. I cried quietly, always quietly. Loud grief felt dangerous. I changed my name at a dingy government office where no one asked questions. The woman behind the counter didn't know she was erasing a marriage, a future, a love I had believed in with my whole heart. She just stamped papers and slid them back to me, With a new name came a new life. I found work in a small cafe, washing dishes, then waiting tables. The money was little, but it was honest. Each shift reminded me that I could still stand on my own feet. At night, exhaustion became my refuge. It left no space for nightmares. Sometimes, though, memories crept in. The way he used to smile at me, the vows, the lies wrapped in tenderness. I learned then that betrayal doesn't scream. It whispers, it smiles, it waits until you trust it completely. Months passed, then years. Fear slowly loosened its grip. I moved again, this time by choice. I enrolled in night classes, studied business, learned how power worked so I'd never be powerless again. Every small success felt like stitching my heart back together. I stopped running. I started building. When the last of the 20,000 was gone, I no longer needed it. I had my own savings, my own apartment, my own quiet strength. The girl who fled her honeymoon had become a woman who understood her worth. I even allowed myself to love again, not a man, but life. Mornings with sunlight instead of dread, silence without fear, independence without guilt. Then fate tested me. I saw his name on a legal notice while reviewing documents at work. My hands didn't shake. My chest didn't tighten. Curiosity replaced terror. I searched once, just once. His empire had cracked, lawsuits, debt, people walking away from him the same way I had. The man who once controlled everything was unraveling. Years later, I walked into a conference hall wearing a tailored suit. Confidence draped around me like armor. I felt eyes on me before I saw his. He froze. Time collapsed into a single breath. "You," he whispered, disbelief etched across his face. I met his gaze calmly, no fear left to hide. "Hello," I said. "I thought you disappeared." I smiled, soft but unbreakable. "No," I replied. "I survived." And in that moment, I realized something powerful. The greatest revenge wasn't destroying him. It was becoming the woman he could never touch again. The first time I saw him after all those years, I didn't feel the familiar rush of fear I had once carried. Instead, I felt a quiet satisfaction, a sense of closure I had earned through years of struggle and survival. He stood across the room in a tailored suit, the same arrogance he had worn on our wedding day, but now it clashed with the desperation in his eyes. The man who had terrified me on my honeymoon night was smaller somehow, diminished by time, mistakes, and his own reckless choices. He approached each step hesitant, as if testing whether I was real. I didn't expect to see you here," he stammered, his voice carrying a tremor he had never had before. "I didn't expect to see you either," I said softly, letting the words linger between us like a gentle but unbreakable wall. He glanced around nervously, as if expecting someone, or something, to stop him from speaking. "I've searched, I thought I lost you," he confessed. His eyes pleaded, searching for a spark of the naive woman he had married. I let out a quiet laugh, one that surprised him and perhaps myself. It wasn't mocking, but it wasn't sweet either. It was the sound of someone who had survived, someone who had emerged from chaos stronger than before. "You didn't lose me," I said. "You lost me." He blinked, confusion and disbelief flickering across his face. "Lost you? What do you mean?" I tilted my head slightly, studying him with the calm precision that only years of surviving betrayal can teach. "I mean that the woman you thought you controlled no longer exists. The girl who fled a honeymoon night with $20,000 and a shattered heart is gone. What you see now is someone who chose herself over fear, someone who rebuilt her life while you—" I paused, letting my gaze settle on him, "crumbled in your own web of lies." His face paled. I could see the recognition of his failures forming slowly, painfully. He opened his mouth, but no words came. "Do you remember your sister-in-law?" I asked, my tone steady, unwavering. "She saved me that night, handed me the money, whispered 3 words, 'Run fast.' She gave me a chance to live when you planned to destroy me, and I did." He swallowed hard. His hands twitched slightly. I didn't know, you didn't know because you never cared to see. I said. All those nights you lied, cheated, manipulated. Your empire of fear and control was built on the assumption that no one could ever outsmart you. But I did. I outsmarted you by surviving. The room grew quiet. I could feel the weight of my words pressing on him, heavier than any punishment I could deliver. And that was the point. Do you want revenge? He asked finally, his voice trembling. I shook my head slowly. No, revenge would be cruel. I don't want you to hurt. I want you to understand that you have no power over me anymore. The sweetest revenge isn't ruin. It's freedom. Freedom to live. Freedom to love. Freedom to walk away while you remain trapped in your own chaos. He looked down, ashamed and broken, as I turned away. The crowd around us moved like waves, oblivious to the personal storm that had just passed. I could feel the old fear, the one that had haunted me for years, fade completely, replaced by a profound serenity. Walking out of that hall, I carried nothing with me but the woman I had become. Strong, independent, and untouchable. My past no longer dictated my present. My happiness was mine alone. And that night, as the city lights blurred past the taxi window, I realized the ultimate truth. The sweetest revenge is living well, thriving despite betrayal, and walking into the future with a heart free of fear, unburdened by anger, and filled with peace. I smiled, finally whole. No one, not even him, could take that from me.